Hey guys, it's John, JRB Tree Climbing. I'm excited to introduce you to a hitch I devised. I'm calling this the Saddle Hunters Hitch. Before releasing it here via this video, I have circulated this to a team of international experts, and to our knowledge at this time, we're not aware that this has been published under another name. And so until such time that that's been determined, we're going to call this the Saddle Hunters Hitch, the audience for which I devised it. I'm going to start by telling you some of the features about the Saddle Hunters Hitch. Then I'm going to explain how to tie it, any failure modes we're aware of, and what's to come. So the Saddle Hunters Hitch, first off, is a toggled hitch. It requires an implement, in this case a carabiner, to complete the hitch. It's easy to tie and easy to remove. It's strong and secure and stable. The hitch is tied in the bight, meaning that you don't need the access to the working end of the rope in order to affix the hitch around the host object, in this case a tree. The hitch is either end loadable. I'm going to go right ahead and demonstrate that from the start. So my audience, which is varied, but primarily saddle hunters, are in the business of attaching themselves via a tether to a tree. And so via my friction hitch, I am going to put my body weight on this strand here, which starts out on the right. So I'll go ahead and do that. All of my body weight is on that. I will remove my body weight. I will then put my body weight on the other strand. And as you might expect, similar results. And somewhat obviously, if it takes load on one strand, it can also be used to create load on both strands and give you some level of redundancy if a failure mode in your system might be a slippage or compromise of your friction hitch. So let's demonstrate that. Now my load is on both lines. The hitch is easily adjusted, and this is very important for my audience in their own climbing, that they might need to adjust the height of the hitch on the host, on the tree, and wishes to do so without endangering their precious fingers by getting them behind the hitch should any other failure occur while so doing. And we can adjust the position of the Saddle Hunters Hitch by simply tugging on the toggle to get a little slack, and then I can walk it up or walk it down the tree and re-secure it. Let's do that again. A little tug and move it down. We'll tug, move it back up. And after so doing, we'll immediately accept load. Okay, now let's show you how to tie the hitch. And we'll start by untying it. And that is a simple matter of removing the carabiner. Okay, so being right-handed, prefer to operate my biner with the right hand, and so I've adopted a convention of affixing the hitch on the tree from left to right. I start with a bight of rope folded over to create an open loop. I pass that around the tree from left to right. I take that bight and I pass it through the two standing lines. I then widen it and go around the two standing lines. The position of my thumb will be replaced by the toggle. In this case, carabiner, and it's important that the toggle is placed to capture the end of the bight of the rope and not the two standing lines. So let's go ahead and do that. So fix it to the tree, ready to accept load. Should I have put the toggle on the other side on the two standing lines, although it seems to be the same hitch mechanically, there's a failure mode whereby the hitch could pop through the bight and dispel. So we wouldn't want that. Important to always tie any knot properly, but in this case re-demonstrate. Pass the bight around the tree from left to right. Put that bight through the two standing lines. Widen it around the two lines. And then with my toggle, around the bight. Now, the toggle itself, in this case a climbing rated carabiner, is accepting a force, and it's somewhat of a bending force around those two lines. But that force is minor with respect to the kinds of load we can generate with our body weight or normal loads relative to the strength of the rope. Okay, now another feature of this hitch is that it is replacing today this application of a tether where we're attaching ourselves to a tree. The most popular method for doing that is a running loop or a running eye, where we have to pass it around the tree and put it in place. It's somewhat unstable. It's very easily positioned, sometimes accidentally, and it's hard to get it high above our head. But with the Saddle Hunters Hitch, it's easier to get that up above our head. I can do that by selecting the spite, a little bit more slack in it, and I can throw that up in the tree. You throw that up in the tree a little higher. And then from this position, I've got it, as you can tell, relative to my hands, which are outstretched, it's way up above my head, almost as high as I can reach. And just as stable as at a lower height. We go ahead and load that and demonstrate it. Now let's talk about failure modes. Should the hitch, we already discussed the most important one, which is to put the carabiner on the correct side and engaging the end of the bight of the rope. But some things I like about the hitch is, given that my audience will sometimes be tying a hitch in low light conditions, we might accidentally have some spins or twists in the rope when it goes around the tree. And if that happens, it does not affect the integrity of the hitch. In fact, a structural analysis would say that this is actually slightly more secure due to the additional friction caused by the binding action of those strands as it goes around the tree. So like any knot or hitch, you take responsibility for tying it properly, but the only obvious failure mode I'm aware of with this hitch is misplacement of the toggle. So I will tie it one last time, pass the bight around the tree from left to right, pass the bight through the two standing lines, widen it, go around the two standing lines, and place the toggle. Now, I won't have time in this video to talk about all the variations. For example, I could have formed this hitch with the toggle already on the end of the rope, and you can go ahead and figure out how to do that. It's quite simple. But there's some other variations which are not so simple, and we're going to explore those in future videos. If you look through Ashley's book of knots, you'll notice that the Saddle Hunters Hitch is very similar in construction but different to number 1919, the Toggled Bight. However, it is more secure, but for reference, 1919 is published next to 1920, which is a more secure variant of the Toggled Bight. And if you want to do that homework, you're welcome to. We can make this guy a little bit more secure with additional turns around the standing lines. We'll do that in future videos. We've also got options for how to tie this. If I only want to take load on one side, I don't need to take load on the second side, how would I do that? We've got options for placing a minor load on the toggle and therefore enabling us to build mechanical advantage systems with just the Saddle Hunters hitch and perhaps some friction hitches. And lastly, we have some options for remote release of the hitch. For example, if I were to rappel off of the hitch and then be standing on the ground and I wanted to release the hitch remotely, similar to the JRB hitch, the other hitch I've devised and is available here on my channel, how might we accomplish that? All those details are yet to come. And so this is the first video on a new playlist for me here on my channel, JRB Tree Climbing and Saddle Hunting, and this is the Saddle Hunters Hitch. Please learn it and tie it and use it with care, and take responsibility for your own actions and safety as you climb. Thank you.